Hello, my name is Taylor Smith, and this is my Media Clip final project. So to start, we're going to talk a little bit about the least restrictive environment. So the least restrictive environment is where students who are receiving special education services are included in their general education classroom as much as possible, and that they are participating in everything that their peers do as much as they can. This is just really important for them to make sure that they are included and that they are not left out of things that they are very capable of doing with their peers. So how this relates to the models of delivery for special education services. So the biggest thing is mostly just about how these students are included. So an example of this could be like, how students work in their classroom as much as possible. So it's important to make accommodations for students on their assignments and stuff like that, so that they are allowed to stay in the classroom as much as they can. And every time there's something special going on, like a classmate's birthday party and everything like that, it is important that these students are in there as much as they can be. So then, why is the assessment process described as a cycle? So the reason this is described as a cycle is because it is repeated continuously, and the teachers are constantly monitoring the effects of the interventions and whether they're working or not and what needs change. And it's just going round and round, and it always continuously happens again and again. So we're going to start with the components of the special education assessment process. So first we start with identification and referral. So in this stage, they do screening, and the teacher identifies the school problem in the school and what they think may be the issue. So just because identification happens does not mean that a referral is necessary. It doesn't always work like that. So they could be, first, the pre-referral intervention strategies need to happen. This is where the general education teachers are making modifications and accommodations for their students that they think may need referred to special education, just to see that they are trying to help before they refer them to special education, and see what maybe something that they do, an accommodation just might help it all and they don't even need referred. So it's important that the general education teachers are doing those pre-referral strategies or intervention strategies. So then is referral and notification of parents. So referrals can be made by parents, teachers, or any other professionals in the school. They complete a referral form describing what the student's problem is, how long it's been happening, and what has been happening in the classroom, and what kind of modifications the teacher has already made. So that is why it is important that the teachers are doing those pre-referral intervention strategies. And also, this is where it is important that the parents are notified. So then we're going to move on to determination of eligibility. So this is where they design the individualized assessment plan. This is where the parents are informed of this plan, and they need to give permission for all this to happen. It is important that each student's assessment plan is individualized, so that it is unique to address their specific needs that they may have. This is also in this stage is the administration, scoring, and interpretation of assessment and procedures. So, and then this is where they do assessments, and they report the results, and they decide whether or not they are eligible. So this is important to help ensure that the students are addressed completely, fully, accurate, and fairly, to be able to make the decisions whether they are eligible for special education services or not. So then we're after. This is on 2 slides. Okay, there we go. So the next step is program planning. And in this step is where they design the IEP, or the Individualized Education Program. So this is where the IEP meeting must take place, and that must happen within 30 days of the determination that they are in need of special education services. So also the IEP must be completely developed before they start doing any types of modifications or things like that in the classroom. They need to have the actual IEP before any of that takes place. And it is also very important that the parents are agreeing to the IEP. So not like just teachers make it up and they go with it. Parents must give their consent before the IEP takes place in the schools. And then step number 4, the last step, is program implementation of evaluation. So this is just where the IEP is taking place and they are implementing that in the child's schooling, and then ongoing monitor of the student's progress. So they constantly are monitoring whether what they're doing is working and helping. Every year they have a review of the IEP. This is also in this process. So every year they review it, and then every 3 years they have to reevaluate the eligibility for the special education services. So this goes back to why the assessment process is described as a cycle, because it constantly just keeps happening. So like every year they have to, or every 3 years they have to get reevaluated. So like the whole cycle just goes over and over again. So then we're going to move on to strategies a professional can use to encourage family participation in the special education assessment process. So it is important that there is communication, commitment, equality, skills, and trust. So those are just the main 5 things that they need. So with communications, it is important and helpful for the families that your communication is clear, frequent, open, honest, and tactful and positive. So you want to be positive and communicate with the parents often, so that they feel included in everything that you're doing with their student or their child. Commitment. So it's important that with commitment, you need to be committed to the student and the family, and communicating. This also goes back to communication. It's important to be committed to communicate with the families and be consistent with them. Equality. It is so important to advocate for your students. Listen to the parents and provide information for them and help them when they need help, just so you know that they will be helpful for you when you need help too. So skills. It is important to know what actions to take. It's really important to the parents that they feel like the teachers and professionals that are working with their students know what to do and know when to do it. So skills is also monitoring the progress and being willing to learn. So to keep up on learning new things and new tricks to help and ideas. Trust. It's important to be reliable and dependable with your students and your parents and everyone to. If your families that you're working with trust you, it's more likely that they will be participating in the special education process. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about derived scores. So the first one is percentile ranks. Oh, you can't even see my chart. I don't know how to do that. So percentile ranks are scores that translate student test performances into the percentages of the norm groups that performed as well or poorer than the students on the same test. So this is just indicates relative positions compared to the norm groups, basically. Standard scores are derived scores from a set of mean and standard deviations. So these could be like IQ scores or scale scores or T-scores. These compare different performances of students who take different levels of forms of the same test. It evaluates gains over time, which is important, and it combines data from different tests. It's also important that it commutes meaningful summary statistics, so you can summarize all of the data and it is meaningful to people or to them. So stenines are derived scores equivalent to a range of standards. These standards, so it stands for the standard nines, where it gets its name. So they are distributed into 9 ranges, and the range of performance, this goes for the range or performance rather than a specific score. These are less precise than the standard scores. And then I can't do this. Okay, and then over here I have the chart that just shows all of the scores in comparison to each other. So that's how they all would look on a graph compared to each other. It's really hard to see because it's small, so I'm sorry about that, but it's from the textbook. And yeah, so that is all I have. Thanks for watching.